Your teams.
Hell! It is Barner! It is Barner! And he's gone!
The Beavers are the national champions!
Brandon, a three-pointer out front. Hit it! Yes, he did!
His take.
Here's what I think.
Matt Bagley. Matt Bagley.
When I was just a regular person, didn't cover sports for a living, I thought that all fans were optimists by nature. They always would just assume my team is going to win the Super Bowl or the World Series or the national championship, and your team sucks. That's what I thought fan bases were all like, generally. But getting to know these fan bases, I believe that I'm not the only sports pessimist out there.
Talking local sports.
Are you a pessimist or an optimist when it comes to your favorite team? I am a pessimist. I tell you this, and I'm curious where you are as a fan, because I know where I was last night. And when Patrick Mahomes did the inevitable and came back and won in a way that only Patrick Mahomes could seemingly do, I was numb.
Southern Oregon Sports Talk with Matt Bagley. Presented by Medford BMW on 96.1 580 The Game.
What a weekend. Did you listen to that Beaver game? Did you listen to the Beaver game yesterday? How about the Oregon games this weekend? Great college baseball on display from the boys of our state. We'll talk about that tonight. We'll talk about a somber, bitter end for the Beavs. They got off to that great start today, couldn't finish. We'll hit on that note. Talk about the Ducks tonight, what they need to do. But also, we'll talk about some of the other teams that I know you care about, like the Blazers, who fired their coach after falling in the first round of the playoffs this year. They keep the GM. They will likely keep the roster, though your guess on who they keep is as good as mine. The first domino to fall is Terry Stotts. I want to know right off the start. 541-630-4792. My opening question to you tonight on Southern Oregon Sports Talk is, was the Stotts departure the right move for the Portland Trail Blazers? I look at it this way. Terry Stotts was a good coach, not a great coach. Wasn't perfect, wasn't great, but I don't think he was the Blazers' problem either. I think he was a average to slightly above average coach with a below average roster. I'm reminded of when I moved back in with my father, when I got the job to run what was then ESPN 580 in Medford. See, I was living in Klamath Falls, my college town. My college roommate was a couple years younger than me, so he was still studying. At the same time, I had my first job in Klamath at 92.5 KLAD, big country station over there. If you've listened, if you're a country music fan, you probably know 92.5 KLAD. They're huge over there. Anyway, I did sports updates for them. I've talked about them for years. I lived with a roommate in a crummy, lousy apartment downtown that we hated, but it was cheap. It was what we could afford, so we lived there. And needless to say, I was not in the financial position to spend $2,000 or $3,000 to move all of my stuff out of that apartment and then rent an apartment in Medford. It just didn't make sense. So I moved in with my dad, and my dad had moved from Medford to Talent. Now, this is where things got fun for us. Growing up, my house in Medford, we rented from a landlord who ran a landscaping business. And as a part of the rental agreement, he did our landscaping. So I never had to mow the lawns. When I was younger, we lived in other places, I had to mow lawns, but never, ever when I lived with my dad growing up in Medford. When we moved to Talent, I had to mow the lawns. We didn't even have a lawnmower. We didn't have any tools. We didn't have a hedge trimmer. We didn't have a lawn blower. We didn't have a mower. So my sister bought us a push reel mower, you know, the ones that you walk up and down your yard. And I thought this would be great. I thought, gosh, why didn't anybody ever think about buying me one of these? I need the exercise. I drive to work every day, and I sit and spin in a chair and talk on the radio. Really sedentary job. I need the calories. This thing is going to be a great workout. And I felt that way until about 15 minutes into the first time I tried to mow our lawn. It was a disaster. It was a disaster. It just – those push mowers work for some people. It's a workout for some people. It is a trip through hell for me. And I just sat there flummoxed, tripping and getting cut on grass and getting stuck on the lawn. And anyway, my whole rigmarole comes down to this. I could do the job, but I didn't have the right equipment to do the job. And it would have been a lot easier if I'd had a riding mower or if I'd had a gas-powered or electric-powered mower, and I didn't have to use that stupid push reel mower getting stuck in the lawn. I could do the job. I didn't have the right equipment. Terry Stotts can do the job. We know he can scheme up great offense night in, night out so that the Blazers can consistently score 100 or more every night. As a coach in the NBA, that's half the battle. You look at the Bucks right now. They can't figure that out with Giannis. The Sixers without Joel Embiid. They can't figure that out when Joel Embiid leaves the floor. Scoring 100 points or more is massive in the NBA. But the players have to do their job on the other end and keep the other side from getting points. They got to play defense. And Terry Stotts can talk a big game about rotations and adjustments defensively. At the end of the day, when you've got Yusuf Nurkic, I think a minus defender, for being honest, and Enes Kanter backing him up, even worse at defense. Carmelo on the wing when you go small. He's never been known for his defense. And you have an undersized backcourt with Dame and CJ. Your defense is going to suck. And their defense sucked. Terry Stotts, yeah, you can say that he didn't get the most out of the Blazers defense, but I don't think he was given much to work with. Not a great coach, but the roster was what really let this team down. So you can let go of Terry Stotts. My question then is, does the next coach do more with this roster? Who can get more out of this roster? And that's where I'm really eager to see the names that are actually interviewed and offered a contract versus the names that have been floated. Because out of the names that have been floated, there's only one guy I've heard that I think makes sense with this Blazers roster. And it's not a great name. It wouldn't be a great hire. It might just be a lateral hire. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW. Let's hit really quick on the NFL. Blockbuster trade. And I promise we're going to talk Beaver baseball at some point. Want to recap Beaver fans after Mike Parker had you on the roller coaster all weekend. Julio Jones is getting up there. So there will be folks in Atlanta patting themselves on the back for getting a first-round pick, or getting a second-round pick and a couple of other details as well. I think there's a fifth, maybe even a fourth thrown in, probably a swap. There's going to be some celebration in Atlanta. They clear a ton of cap, and they clear a 33-year-old wideout off their roster. But there's no guarantee he's at the end of his career. Jerry Rice was catching passes in playoff games on the other side of 40. Tim Brown padded a Hall of Fame resume thanks to 1,000-yard seasons and 100-catch seasons late into his 30s. And it's not the same position group, but look at what Tom Brady and Adrian Peterson are doing. Peterson has been taking hits at the most demanding position in football since 2007, and he's still in the league. And Tom Brady? Well, how about you just do the most demanding position, right? We know that running back is the most physically challenging one, but quarterback is the most mentally and emotionally challenging one. You've got to lead your entire roster. You've got all of the pressure of an organization on your shoulders. and he's handled it. And now he's on the other side of 40, and he's playing at a Hall of Fame level. My point is that the NFL is not a 8 or 9 year league anymore. It used to be that when guys hit 30, they were done. When guys hit 30, cut bait, cut loose. Like when the Patriots got rid of Deion Branch back in the day, or Troy Brown. Remember, it used to be every year Brady would have to get a new number one wideout because the Patriots would let him walk in free agency. It's not that way anymore. The wide receiver position doesn't have to be a graveyard after the age of 30. And Julio Jones, a physical specimen, and someone who has a boatload of experience getting off the line of scrimmage, finding open holes in zone coverage, gaining a rapport with his quarterback, and converting on third down and long, game in, game out. I want that guy on my football team. I wish Vegas traded for him. I wish Seattle traded for him. I think the Titans got a steal. Julio Jones for a second-rounder and some pocket change, that's a steal. He's 33, but don't let that age fool you. He can still play, just like those greats. The NFL is just different now. We'll talk Beaver baseball real quick, 30 seconds, and then I'm going to set the scene for the last segment of the show. Short show tonight because that Beaver game got weird at the end. I thought it was a great weekend for the Orange and Black. I wish it had a better ending. You get up 5-0. You seemingly catch every lucky break in the world through 5 innings, and it just falls apart. You know, it just goes to show that college baseball is funky. These are kids. These are young people. And at the end of a long weekend, when Oregon State is scraping at the bottom of its pitching staff, and DBU is hungry and they're trying to get runs because they want to keep their season alive, anything can happen. And you just got to hope next year the right thing happens for the Beavers. I like their coaching staff. I like the direction of that program. They're going to lose a lot of talent in their starters with Kevin Abel moving on. And you just hope when Jacob Melton comes back healthy and some of the great hitters they have on that team come back, you hope that they can make another run, because I think they could be really fun in a loaded Pac-12 next spring. Ducks could be right there with them, battling night in, night out. I want to see Oregon do really well tonight. We'll talk about that in the last segment of the show. But I've got 15 minutes left, and I'm going to spend it like such. Question for you, 541-630-4792. Who should coach the Blazers? You've heard the names. If you haven't, I'll clue you in. But Jason Kidd and Chauncey Billups probably don't fill you with optimism. Do you like either of those names at the helm in Rip City? How about Mike D'Antoni? How about anybody else? Who should coach the Blazers? You call in, text in, tell me what you think. Then we'll talk NBA playoffs as a whole. I want to know what you got right, what you got wrong, round one. I'll share my thoughts on that subject. And I might even talk a little U.S. soccer after one of the craziest soccer matches I've ever seen took place last night. That plus Ducks in the regional, all headed your way next. Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW, right here on The Game.
At MasterBrand, we don't just make cabinets. We offer opportunities to grow, to learn, and to make a difference. And you'll be recognized and rewarded for doing it. MasterBrand offers tremendous opportunities for you to grow in your career in a clean and safe work environment. And we treat our employees right. It's our culture to build opportunity, purpose, and reward into everything we do. Our employees are our most important asset. That's why you'll receive a comprehensive compensation and benefits package that includes excellent wages, medical, dental, vision, and more. Plus, we offer health and retirement savings plans and a stock purchase program to help secure financial protection and peace of mind. When you join MasterBrand, you're part of something bigger. We stay competitive and provide support to keep our employees and their families healthy, physically, emotionally, and financially. If you have a strong work ethic and think you'd be a good fit in MasterBrand's fast-paced manufacturing environment, we'd like to hear from you. If you are ready to begin making your dreams come true, apply today at masterbrand.com.
95.7 KBOY and Quail Point Golf Course present Monday Night Madness.
With social distancing, of course. It's 9 holes at Quail Point Golf Course with a cart, pizza, and prizes, all for just $25. This two-man scramble has a 5:30 p.m. shotgun start. For a chance to win Monday Night Madness for you and a friend, just enter on our website, 957kbly.com.
Join 95.7 KBOY on the greens at Quail Point Golf Course all summer long for Monday Night Madness. Special thanks to Papa John's Pizza.
Hey, Josh here from A Affordable Royal Flush. Without a doubt, the most often asked question is, how do I know if my septic tank is full? Water levels from 4 to 6 inches from the top of the tank are still normal operating levels, and a properly operating system's drainage will keep up with that. Now, if your tank's overflowing, that's another story. Give us a call to let us set up an appointment to pump and assess your unique septic system needs to be sure you're in good shape. We carry up to 180 feet of hose on our truck, so getting to just about any tank, it's not a problem. At A Affordable Royal Flush, we're the professionals you can trust for your septic system maintenance, repair, and installation. Call 541-772-3389 in Medford or 541-479-6935 in Grants Pass for a free phone estimate. Be sure to visit our Facebook for more information about septic systems. Our family's been serving the Rogue Valley since 1995 with the right service at the right price. Have a septic system? Think A Affordable Royal Flush. A Royal Flush beats a full house anytime.
Hello, Southern Oregon. Joe Tate here, General Manager of Medford BMW. It's hard to believe it's that time of the year here again in Southern Oregon. The temperatures are heating up, graduation is right around the corner, and summer vacations are on the horizon. We want to take your travel plans to the next level. Whether you are planning a camping trip in our beautiful state or a drive across our great country, we have you covered. We sell the ultimate driving machine and so much more. When you sell the ultimate new car, you get the ultimate used cars in trade. Honda, Toyota, Mercedes-Benz, and of course BMW, just to name a few. We also carry a great selection of full-size trucks and SUVs to make those trips in our beautiful outdoors even better, all at remarkably affordable prices. So if you are in the market for new luxury or new to you, Medford BMW is the place. World-class service, remarkably affordable pricing, and absolutely unbeatable deals. Come visit us in person at Driveway 5 off Bremen Drive or shop 24/7 at medfordbmw.com.
Oregon. This is our home. From its wide Pacific shore to its majestic peaks and open desert, this state has it all. But one careless spark could take all of this away. Whether you're at home, at play, or on the job, the power and responsibility of wildfire is in your hands. Please, keep Oregon green.
Southern Oregon Sports Talk with Matt Bagley. Talking local sports. Weekdays 4 to 6 p.m. on 96.1 580 The Game.
Short show tonight, so this is my last segment, Southern Oregon Sports Talk. I kind of like it. I kind of like nights like this because there's no filler. It's really easy to sort out what I want to talk about, and I only get to the good stuff on a night like this. But I'm also bummed because I had so much stuff to get to on a Monday after a long, electric sports weekend, and that Beaver game ran long. So, it happens. It is what it is. Let's start this segment here. My question for you, you can text, call, chime in on the studio line, 541-630-4792. Who should coach the Blazers? The names that have been floated are guys like Jason Kidd, who publicly came out and said, I will not take the job. Sure. There's a reason why he said that. We'll get to it in a minute. Chauncey Billups has been floated. I think right now he's an assistant with the Clippers. He's been an assistant in the league for a couple of years after being a player before that. And the other name that stood out to me was Mike D'Antoni. Who do you want to coach the Portland Trail Blazers? 541-630-4792. Jason Kidd had to say he doesn't want the gig because Portland, as a fan base, as a city, as a community, doesn't want him. And they don't want him because he had some trouble in his playing days. I know I have kids listening, so I always try to be sensitive about this stuff. He was a wife beater. And I am of the belief, if I were running a sports organization, I would not hire a wife beater. Some sports organizations, they don't care about that. Generally, in Oregon, fan bases will not let your organization hire a wife beater. So he had to come out and say, I'm not going to take the job. Because if he'd taken the job, it would have made everybody look bad. That takes me to Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups, my issue with him is he's a player more than a coach. He's only barely been a coach. He hasn't put the work in as a coach. And if you want to think that Terry Stotts isn't getting the most out of his roster, if he wasn't a good enough coach, why would Chauncey Billups be a better coach when Stotts has decades of experience on him? It doesn't make any sense to me. Now Mike D'Antoni, this isn't a sexy name. It's not a great name. And I'll be honest with you. I think if the Blazers hire Mike D'Antoni, their root problem, their fundamental issue will not change. Their defense will still be abysmal. And they'll still be held back in the playoffs by that abysmal defense. But if they hire Mike D'Antoni, it makes a ton of sense to me. We know that Damian Lillard is one of the best pure scorers in the game. He's either the best or second best point guard, depending on your perspective on Steph Curry. C.J. McCollum, we know, can catch and shoot at the three-point line. Robert Covington, we know, can catch and shoot at the three-point line. Basically, every wing and guard on that team, except for Melo, is tailor-made for Mike D'Antoni. Mike D'Antoni could work in Portland. The offense would be amazing under Mike D'Antoni. My question, if they hire Mike D'Antoni, is what moves do they make elsewhere? Do they overhaul their front court? Because I don't see a Mike D'Antoni big man on this team. I don't see a guy like P.J. Tucker when he was in Houston, or I'll go way back, I'll say Sean Marion when he was in Phoenix, or Tyson Chandler that year where they got to the conference finals and went toe-to-toe with the Lakers. A guy that can clean up the rim, get a bunch of rebounds, and is not a defensive liability. See, the Blazers have a guy that can clean up the rim, Jusuf Nurkic. They have a guy that can get a bunch of rebounds, and as Kanter, neither of them are plus defenders. They're just not that good defensively. So I think the Blazers would need some serious front court help if they hired Mike D'Antoni. But out of all the names I read, that was the one I liked the most. None of them are an A-plus grade, but Mike D'Antoni's a solid B. I think that might be the hire for Portland. We'll talk about that more as the week progresses because I have a full 2-hour show with you tomorrow, and I got a bunch of stuff I want to get to tonight. We'll dive into the Blazers questions on tomorrow's show. NBA playoffs, really quick. I got 90 seconds. I have to concede I got a lot wrong from the opening round. I thought Portland would beat Denver in 7. I thought the Lakers would pull off a 7v2 upset of Phoenix. And I thought that wouldn't be close. You might even have gotten swept. I thought that Brooklyn would struggle more than they have. I didn't expect the Nets to just dominate like they have in this Milwaukee series so far. But I was right about one thing. Experience is important. And I want to talk about Denver's experience. They had brutal defeats in the playoffs the last 2 years. The Blazers beat them in 7 games in the Western Semis 2019, and then they get to the Western Finals 2020, only to be swept aside by LeBron and AD. They grew from that. They learned from that. And even though they don't have Jamal Murray, who is their best guard by a country mile, I think the Nuggets can get back to the Western Conference Finals. And out of the 4 teams left out west, I think the Nuggets can win the West. They have the best center in basketball. They have an identity, and they have experience. And I think that matters. I like Denver to come out of the Western Conference playing field. 1 minute left. I'm back tomorrow at 4, so if you feel like I've teased you tonight, promise you, I'll be back on the airwaves soon, and we can have a full radio show with all the trimmings. Russell Wilson, is going to practice at Seahawks OTAs. That's awesome for the 12s. It tells me that they've put the work in to appease their superstar. We'll talk about what that means, the value of that, and more. 4 o'clock tomorrow. Right here.